Okay, this is quiz corrections for pre-AP. Quiz 2-3B. And this is the one that kind of printed weird. So if you have that one, then you're on the right quiz video. So number 1, identify the slope of the line graphed below. So remember, when we're finding slope from a line, we need to find 2 points. So here's a point and here's a point. And the first thing I should say is this graph, it has a negative slope, which means A and B are not your answers because those are positives. And so this is going down, so that means I fall and I run. And fall means negative, so I'm going to go down 2, fall 2, negative 2, run 1, 2, 3. So my slope is negative 2 over 3, which is answer choice D. However, you could have also used your calculator by making a table. So here's an XY table, and if I plot my points, this point right here is 0, negative 2. And then this point here is negative 3, 0. And then if I go to my calculator, and I use list and spreadsheet, so that's number 4. I put X and Y at the top, and I type in my points, 0, negative 3, and then I have negative 2 and 0. Remember the steps for menu, 4, 1, 3, change X to X and Y to Y, and then click OK. And it tells us our slope. Now our slope is negative 0.6 repeating, which means it's not bigger than 1, which would also eliminate choice C. Or you can copy it by pressing Control C and then going to a calculator page by Control Doc, add a calculator page. Control V will paste the decimal, and then you push menu, 2 for number and 2 for fraction, and push enter, and it will give you the fraction answer. Okay, so you should have counted the points, but if you can't, then you can use your calculator. Number 2, identify the slope and y-intercept in the following equation. Remember, y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. And so our slope here is 6, which gets rid of a and d. And then our y-intercept is negative 2, which means C is our answer. Number 3, what is the equation of the line graph below? So a couple things. One is, again, you could have made a list. Here's your points, X and Y. I have 0, 2, and then I have 3, 0. Or you could have counted fall 2, run 1, 2, 3. Okay, so my slope was negative 2 over 3. And then my y-intercept is positive 2. So my equation is negative 2 over 3x plus 2. Again, one of the first things you should do is say, oh, this is a negative slope. And so since it's a negative slope, I'm going to cross off the answer that's positive. And then if I can look and see that my y-intercept is 2, that would get rid of answer choice D. And if you're still not sure from that point, again, you could use your list page. So if I go here, and I'm actually just going to change these points, so 0, 2, and then I have 3, 0. It gave me a negative 0.6 repeating again, which we already changed to negative 2/3. However, it also tells you the y-intercept is 2. That's your B value. So that would have helped you eliminate some choices. And then your last option is you could have typed these equations into a graph page to see which one matches. We haven't practiced that a ton, but we will. Number 4, it says find the slope of the linear table below, and your table is actually all the way up here. And so remember, on a table, we are finding the change in y over the change in x. Okay, so that's my slope, change in y over change in x. And so from here to here, I am adding let's see, adding 15, I believe. And then on this side, I am adding 10. And so my slope is 15 over 10. And if I go to my calculator, and I want to go to a calculator page again, and I type in 15 divided by 10, it will tell me that this is 3 over 2. So my slope is 3 over 2. If I were to keep going on the table, here I am adding 3. Here I am adding 2. So again, my slope is 3 over 2. And then the last one, I am adding 6, and I am adding 4. So this slope is 6 over 4, which simplifies to 3 over 2. So since I get 3 over 2 every time, that is my answer. But since this is a griddable question, you need a decimal. So here, if I type in 3 divided by 2, but I press Control Enter, it will tell me the decimal is 1.5. So my answer on the grid should have been 1.5. Again, you could have just used your calculator and typed that into a list and spreadsheet, and then it would have told you the slope was 1.5, and you would have just been able to stop right there. Okay. Number 5. One thing we did practice, so some of you might have done it this way, was to use the slope formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. But that does require that you label your points. And it doesn't matter which is x1, but whatever is x1 next to it is y1. Whatever is x2 next to it is y2. And you just plug them in. So y2 I labeled as 5 minus y1 is negative 2. All divided by x2 is 7 minus x1 is negative 9. And I would at this point use my calculator. On a calculator page, get a fraction, and we're just going to type it in. 5 minus negative 2. On the bottom, I have 7 minus negative 9. And that gives me 7 over 16. So here my slope is 7 over 16, which means my answer is D. Okay, another option, you could have made a table. So there are lots of ways to find slope. You have to find the way that you like and stick with it. So here's my table. I just labeled put my points here. Remember, if I'm trying to find from a table, I find my change in y. So from here to here, I go up 7. And then my change in x, so from here to here, I go up 16. And so my change in y over my change in x is 7 over 16, which we already found. And then again, a third option is if you have this table, you can go put it into list and spreadsheet, and it will tell you what the slope is, and you change that decimal to a fraction. Number 6, what is the rate of change? Rate of change just means slope. And this time it gave you 2 points. So you could have just gone to your calculator and put the points. I would still make a table on your paper first to make sure that you have that you're typing it into the calculator correctly. I did notice though that some of you found this point here and decided just to count from here to here. So that means I go down 1 and I run 5. And some of you put 1/5, which would be incorrect. Down 1 means negative 1, running 5. However, because this is a griddable question, you have to change this to a decimal. So a couple options. One, if you figured out that it was negative 1/5, you could just type it in. Negative 1 divided by 5. And you would press Control Enter, and it would tell you that it's negative 0.2. Or you could have typed your points in. So I have negative 3 and 5, and then 3.6 and 2. And here you can see your slope is negative 0.2. And that is your answer, but I'm going to show you really quickly, and I should have done this on the other quiz first too, that some of you are bubbling wrong, okay? So if you have negative 0.2, you have to bubble it. Everything goes in its own column. And I know this sounds silly, but there are a few of you who have the right answer, but you bubbled it wrong, okay? So that's why you missed it. You have to bubble it correctly. All right, moving on to number 7. Number 7 is very much like the tables we've already done. If you're finding the change in y and then the change in x, from here to here is minus 36, and then minus 27, and minus 18. And on this side, it's plus 8, and then plus 6, and then plus 4. And so remember, your change in y over your change in x, it's negative 36 over 8, or negative 27 over 6, or negative 18 over 4. But what do all of those equal? Okay, so I've actually already typed all of them into the calculator. And they all equal the same thing, negative 9 over 2. So that was answer C on this paper. Your other option again would be to use list and spreadsheet. You put all of those points into the table. So here I have negative 20, negative 12, negative 6, negative 2, and it's telling me I have an error because I don't have the same amount of points. I have 96, and then 60, and 33, and then 15, and now it's telling me that my slope is negative 4.5. Again, you can copy it by pressing Control-C, or you could just write it down. And then go to a calculator page by pressing Control-Doc, and Control-V will let you paste it, and then menu 2 for number, 2 for fraction will give you the fraction. Okay? All right, the very last one. Again, I have 2 points, and so you have lots of options here, but I would probably just write them down on a table. So negative 4, 2, and 12, and 6. And then I would just go to a list page, and let's type them in. So I'm going to start all the way over on new document. We're going to say no and pick a list page. At the top we put X and Y, and then we're going to type in our numbers. So I have negative 4 and 12, and I got to make sure that I'm putting them in the right spots. Positive 2 and 6, and at this point we push menu 4, 1, 3, change X to X and Y to Y, and say OK. And my slope is 0.25, and my y-intercept is 3. So those are the 2 things that I need. On my paper, I can see my slope is 0.25. My y-intercept was 3. Which one says that? We'll answer choice A.